What is up, and we're back again to talk about the top 10 things founders do as mistakes when starting businesses that cost them millions of dollars. Come from my own experience that I've dealt with when I'm consulting to other customers and people who've made millions of dollars. So let us kick off. The first thing that founders tend to make mistakes on is focusing on novelty and not distribution. What I mean is people tend to focus too much about the ingredients that go into making their business, but don't focus on how to actually sell those ingredients or what they make out of those ingredients, right? As founders, we tend to get a little more riled up into what our product is, our specialty of our product, how unique our product is, but we completely tend to ignore distribution. In fact, what you should do is focus on distribution first. Distribution is the key, if not the most important thing you need to focus on in running a business, and that will pretty much make or break your business. Time and time again, we've seen companies not being unique or growing because of their novelty, but because they were better at marketing or growing themselves, or rather distributing themselves. So focus on distribution first, focus on the problem, focus on your solution, and then focus on the outcome. So distribution first is what you are going to be focusing on, what you need to focus on, especially in 2021 where it's so easy to make things these days. A wise person once told me a while ago, this point number 2 is that if you do not have recurring revenue in your business model, you do not have a business, because you're going to be struggling trying to find out where to get work every single month, and that is not going to be a healthy way for you to do it. Whether that's a recurring model that's baked into your business, or you've got a sales team that helps figure out a funnel or a panel that help you go ahead and generate revenue consistently and predictably every single month. So make sure in some form and manner, whether it's a services business model or whether it's a SaaS product or whether it's e-commerce business, you've got some form of recurring revenue. Because to be honest and fair, if you are looking to plan and sell your business, a large part of your business is actually going to be valued upon your book value as well as your recurring model value. So you need to work out whether you can and create a recurring business model within your company, and that is a mistake most people don't do, because you tend to focus on the short term. You close a 6-figure, 7-figure deal, but then again, you don't figure out how to actually build a system out of it that will generate recurring revenue in a predictable manner. So focus on that instead. The other thing we tend to see people make mistakes on when they're starting companies is they're working in the business and not on the business. You need to start to figure out how you can separate yourself from the business every single day. Otherwise, it just becomes another job. In fact, a much more stressful job than you probably had before. So try work out a way you can fire yourself from every single role that you're involved in, whether that's through automation, because there's so many automation tools these days, or you end up going ahead and hiring someone to replace you on that particular role. Remember, the goal as a founder or the CEO of the company is to replace yourself at every point in time and operate and create a business that runs completely without you at any point in time possible. That is what most people tend to offer or look for when they're creating a business, which is freedom. Even if it's not freedom that you're after, you need to create a way that you can decentralize yourself and the authority of the business from you. The E-Myth book talk about this really well, where most founders tend to fill in 3 key roles: the technician, the manager, and the founder. The role of the technician is that IP. Let's just take example, a restaurant where you're making something that's very unique, maybe bread or cake that only you know how to do. The manager is someone who's focused upon deliveries, deadlines, project management, making sure things are getting done on time, and so on and so forth. And the founder is a visionary. They think of the grand scheme of plan of things, what they can make this business into, how they can grow this, what the grand vision of the product and the business actually is. Now you need to work out that you create a good balance between this, and this is where founders make an often mistake towards this, which is you tend to focus on one or the other. You become too much of a technician, or too much of a manager, or too much of a founder. Too much of a founder, which is always talking about the hypothetical what might happen and not actually have a plan of attack or have any IP, just becomes a snake oil salesman or saleswoman, right? Same with the manager, someone who wants to control and make sure things are delivered on time, but they actually don't have a vision for what they're delivering towards or something to actually deliver to. You end up becoming nothing. The last thing is the technician, someone who's just good at what they do, building great cakes, but have no idea of how to go ahead and find out a system of how many cakes to create, or even what this business even means and does other than just grind you to the ground. So this is a common mistake people make in not having that balance. So you need to work out how you can focus towards creating that balance. Founders not reaching product market fit is the other big issue. Now look, it's not a mistake you tend to make, but if you don't focus towards it, if you don't build a system towards it, you will reach failure. Now, Rahul Vora from Superhuman is a fantastic example where he created Superhuman email tool, which is a better way to go ahead and send messages and automate or create your emails. Now, the entire experience he spoke about was a quite difficult one for the first 2-3 years, where he did not necessarily reach product market fit or know how to achieve it. Most definitions of product market fit talk about it as an era of nirvana where you either have it or you don't. But no one talks about a system of how you can create tentative, repeatable tasks you can do again and again and again until you reach product market fit. So make sure you create a system that helps you get to that level of product market fit, which helps you go ahead and build that business, reach that layer of nirvana, and essentially go ahead and get market penetration where customers love what you're building. Surprise, surprise, that whether you know this or not, but I think recent statistics show that almost 67% of founders actually do not know who they're selling to. And that is a big mistake. You need to know who you're selling to. Goes back to point number 1 that I made, is distribution comes first. Understand how you're going to sell the product and who you're selling the product to. So you need to work out where your customer makes decisions from, what are the criteria they're using to make the decisions, where they go to find the products that they're looking to find, your ideal customer, right? What that customer is actually looking for. What are the pain points? What is their day in the life of? Most people refer to these as personas, but don't just use personas as an excuse. Don't create a persona and move away from it. Understand who your core customer is. Who are you solving for? The nicher, the better. Like, are you solving for programmers? Are you solving for developers? Same thing. Are you solving for marketers, e-commerce founders? Who are you solving for? Because that is going to be important in understanding how you're going to position it and build a product and how you're going to create it. Remember, selling to everyone means selling to no one. The other bigger mistake founders always make, and I made myself as well, is not focusing on compounding factors, right? Especially if you're running a services business model, it does not work well for you if you need to do the same thing again and again and again, especially with changes. If you're running a client service business in development, or you're building maybe a construction business, doing the same thing but differently gives you no value, because every single time you're repeating the same thing and doing the same work. You're not compounding on your previous efforts or work. So what you need to do is come up with systems that help you compound it. The easiest way rather you can do it is via courses. Another way you can do it is via SEO. That means you're not marketing that's just on paid models, right? You're not just doing paid advertising, but you're focusing on content. You're focusing on SEO. Assets that grow and compound over time and generate value in a significant ROI factor from day 1 all the way to day 3. The saying always goes, right? The best time to start SEO was 3 years ago. The next best time is now. So focus on content, focus on assets, don't focus on transactional things that tend to disappear very quickly. This falls under the same principle of building goals and not systems. This is a very big issue founders fall into, most people fall into, which is you set grand visions and goals, but you actually don't create a system that helps you get there. In fact, what you need to do is try to figure out a way to cut down on the number of goals you create and try to figure out a way of the number of systems you can create. A system is something like, let's say I want to get 25,000 page views on my blog post at the end of 4 months. Great goal. Now, how are you actually going to go ahead and do that? A system is going to be working out on week 1 and week 2, how many people you're going to reach out to write guest posts for, how many content pieces you're going to create, what is the system you're going to build that goes in, let's create content, where you're going to find content writers, what content is going to be written by each content writer, also going to go and work out how many authority posts that you're going to create, how you're going to go ahead and do your backlinking, how many people you're going to reach out to, how many of those guest posts are going to get approved, how many are going to get disapproved. All those things, create a system so you can work out every single day. I'm going to, tether by it one by one. This falls again, another big issue that most founders make is they sell hours, not systems. As a business owner, you are not meant to sell your hours. There is nothing valuable and rich about having a high value hourly rate. That means you can still be bought, right? And that's something you need to understand is the wealthiest people, the people who are successful, do not have an hourly rate. So make sure when you're creating a system that it is focused, that is completely decentralized from you. Your hourly rate might be based upon someone you have hired to do that. That's completely separate, right? But you need to make sure that you do not have an hourly rate and you're not selling hours. You're not selling hours and you're selling time instead. So focus on creating a system where you can divorce time and money, as Jack Butcher said it first, and you need to go ahead and figure out a way where you can build something once and sell it multiple times. This is by far the biggest issue, or one of the biggest issues that founders make when they're starting companies, especially I've seen in 2021, is not delegating well enough. Figure out your strengths, figure out your weaknesses, and focus on your strengths purely, and hire people who are better than you. That's your whole job as a founder. Hire someone who's much better than you at what you do, and delegate well. Your job is to delegate as much as you can until to a point where you're no longer needed in the business. As you can see, it's a recurring theme, as I mentioned again and again, because most founders tend to go under this zip hole of going to do and solve everything they want. Being a generalized specialist is nothing wrong at all. It's in fact very good nowadays, because that's your IP. The fact that you can combine 2 to 3 unrelated skills and combine them into something that is unique with a unique perspective across 3 domains makes you a superpower. But you need to work out how and when that limit lies. Focus on those 2-3 things, and the rest of it you need to hire and delegate for. That's all. Stay ahead for the next one. I'm very excited for the next video. I'm sure you're gonna love it. If you've liked these content pieces, you've liked the tips that I've shared, please share some love with a like, a subscribe, whatever you can. It'll help the YouTube algorithm spread this message and help other founders from not making these mistakes. Thank you and have a great day.